Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is having a great week. And got an interesting video here since our daughter Shyla is quarantined at home and off of work. She did a video with me, and we talk about a lot of different things. But before I get into the video, I just had some things to add to it. Her and I were talking after we did the video. And it's like, oh my goodness, nobody has thought about this one. And I know some think we're conspiracy agenda analysts, but on CNN, I know I don't usually, look at CNN articles, but they've got two articles. North Korea warns U.S. to prepare for Christmas gift, but no one's sure what to expect. Now, in this article, they're talking that, is this going to be some missile launches? And they're thinking, military weapons. This article was back on December 5th, 2019. And everybody in the government was saying, oh, well, we don't know what to expect. We don't know what they're up to. And Shyla and I were talking. It's like, wait a tick. Isn't that about the time the coronavirus started? Why isn't anybody thinking about that? And if they have thought about that, I haven't seen it on social media or, YouTube or anything like that. So I don't know if anybody else has thought about that. But I'm going to put the link down below to these articles. And, I could be wrong. But making this connection that even back then when he said it, and it was very ominous, no one knew what he was talking about and what the Christmas gift from North Korea was going to be. I'm not going to accuse anybody, but I just find it interesting that China is now getting together with Iran, and they're going to investigate because they're blaming the United States. The United States is blaming China. So while everybody's blaming one another, they have forgot about this little gem. Just saying. Now also, I want to give a shout out. There is an older XJW, Ruth Moram, and I'm going to put the link down below to her videos because she is talking about these court orders of Jehovah's Witnesses. And oh boy, has she got an interesting story. So, yes. Also, I know we give a lot of shout outs to our friend Bonnie, but this one was like an aha moment. And I actually posted this on our Twitter and several other social media, like Jehovah'sWitnesses.com. And it was like, oh my goodness, Bonnie, this was an incredible find. How come none of us thought of this? See, this is a good example of that mind screw that we're in as Jehovah's Witnesses, because you cannot think about these things. But she's reading scriptures from the Bible, and it brings up a good question, and I'm going to put the link down below to her video. If the Israelites in the wilderness had animals to sacrifice to their God Jehovah, why did they need manna from God from starving to death? Why didn't they eat the animals? That was an aha moment, okay? And the Bible bullies that have been attacking us for 2.5 years, answer that question. She's reading these scriptures. If they had animals to sacrifice to their God Jehovah, why weren't they eating them instead of begging him to supply food for them? You just got to ask. You have to ask. Yeah. And yet we're the heretics. So anyway, I'm going to put the link down below to those. And now enjoy the video I did with our daughter.
But we're really not surprised to see the world in the grip of such pestilence. are we? Jesus made it clear at Luke 21:11 that pestilence would be part of the sign of the last days. And in Revelation chapter 6, the ride of the fourth horseman includes mention of deadly plague. So the events unfolding around us are making clearer than ever that we're living in the final part of the last days, undoubtedly the final part of the final part of the last days, shortly before the last day of the last days.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Shyla.
Hi. I'm quarantined at home.
I know. It's been so hard not to be around you and hug you, and so difficult, but
Yeah, I know. Oh, it's just terrible. I'm stuck at home and don't have to be around anybody.
yeah, there's not much of a lifestyle change, is there?
No, I know. I saw a meme that was hilarious because it was like when you realize that your quarantine really isn't no different than your daily life. So I'm like, I get to stay home and not have to go to work.
I know, that's like us. And, I finally had to brave the outside world yesterday and go grocery shopping, but I was really surprised. Town and the stores were pretty much empty with people.
Which people, I highly protested. Highly protested. I was like, I will do it. And she's like, oh no, I'm fine.
So now that Shyla has time and kind enough to do videos with me.
Oh, yeah, because I'm so busy right now.
Yeah.
I'm still in my pajamas, and it's like almost noon.
Well, this is why they call it a staycation and quarantine.
Yeah, that's true. Oh no, I just touched my face. No, they're clean. I'm at home, don't worry.
Yeah, I know it.
Just washed them.
Well, it's like when I came home from town yesterday, it was like, oh my God, I've been in a coronavirus bubble, cloud of virus all day. So I just threw everything off, got in the shower, and, just scrubbed everything and threw my clothes in the wash machine. And I wore gloves all day yesterday, and they were cloth gloves, so I threw them in the wash machine. And But it's like, oh, good
I know,
grief.
when James... it's just so funny because it's like, I'm not worried, I'm concerned, but I'm not freaking out. Like, my level of anxiety ever since the virus was first reported in the United States, like, I wasn't freaking out. I was concerned and cautious, but not the level of anxiety and worry that I usually have about everything else. I've been surprisingly calm about the virus itself. It's just everything else, worrying about people, worrying about you, and all of that. But we still have made some changes. And like James, because he's essential, because the company that he works for, they make motors for medical machines and refrigerators. So he's classified as essential. So he still has to go out and go to work. And since he's going out, I'm making him do the grocery shopping. Because, I don't like people. So I hate going grocery shopping because there's people there. But like, when he comes home, it's like, all right, you put your stuff right there. You strip right there. You take everything off. You go throw it in the washer. And you go in the shower. And then while he's in the shower, like, I'm disinfecting his phone and wallet and keys and stuff. And he's just like rolls his eyes, and I'm just like, you know what? You gotta be careful. You're dirty. Plus, this gets him into the shower when he first gets home, so he gets clean and gets all that grease smell off of him.
Yeah, and it's a good thing, because it's really spreading, well, like we know, they announced yesterday here in New Mexico, we have 110 cases now and one death. 113.
13 and one death.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why, Well, we already know why they have community spread. Look at the problem you and I had with the health department and the school trying to let them know that that teacher, was at work sick and his mother-in-law had just been in Washington State and brought back a bug.
Mm-hmm. I know. I know. And it's like nobody listens to you. And it's like, I foresaw at that point that potentially could have been community spread. And that's probably where it started. You know, if not her, how many other people were on that flight from Washington and brought back a bug?
Yeah, and
she very well could have just had a common cold, but you don't know.
Yeah, and
but how many other people on that flight could have been sick, or anybody from the airport if she had a connecting flight?
And I think you said that one of your coworkers had been in New York City taking public transportation about the same time that lawyer was, taking the subway, and that's how they got all of their community spread.
Yeah, and she got sick, and then, she jokingly said, it's probably coronavirus. Like, you shouldn't be joking about that. Like, you should go get checked out. Seriously.
I know it. Yeah. There isn't even a testing place in our county yet.
Yeah, you'd have to come to Bernalillo County probably to do it.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not going to stand in line for hours or do the drive up. They don't have all the protective equipment anyway, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Plus, I honestly think I had it back in January when I was sick for that 6 weeks fighting that flu bug. That was nothing like any bug I had ever had.
Yeah.
I get nosebleeds a lot, but that one, I was getting nosebleeds constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly.
Yeah. Yeah, and same for me. I got sick a couple of weeks ago, and it knocked me on my butt. And it wasn't like any other sickness I've ever had. And unfortunately, nobody listened to my concerns that, it could have been the virus, and I got blown off.
And look at it, you were sick about the same time as that teacher, and then that kid who tested positive got sick right after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, but at the time, there's a very low risk here. We don't even have any cases, so you don't have it.
Yeah, and didn't you say your school was playing another school at a big arena in Albuquerque?
Our school was in the playoffs.
Oh, geez.
So, and that was about the time that supposedly the student was potentially contagious, and they because of HIPAA they have to keep medical information confidential. But there's no telling if that kid was there or any other kid that could have had it and not showing symptoms. That's why this bug is so bad.
Yeah, it's very contagious. And remember, I told you back then, New Mexico is going to have an explosion with hundreds and hundreds of cases because of the community spread. And no one at that time was taking any of this seriously.
No, nobody was taking it seriously back at the end of February. Yeah. And that's when I was sick.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
But I am finding it interesting that more and more mainstream journalists and articles are getting out about the vitamin C and, basically the quinine. People don't realize that the miracle drug that they're testing is a form of quinine, and grapefruit rind and tonic water have, a lot of this quinine. But you have to be careful because you can't mix it with certain medications, or pregnant women cannot, have grapefruit or quinine. So.
Yeah. And people don't eat fish food because it or fish cleaning products because it has that one thing in. Don't self-medicate.
I know. You sent me that article of that couple in Arizona. It's like, oh my God, he died and she's in the hospital now because they noticed that chemical or ingredient was in their fish tank cleaner and they took it. It's like, oh, good Lord.
Right? And I've been too, that people aren't thinking rationally and they're just in an emotional reactive state at this point. I mean, the toilet paper and paper products alone shows that people aren't thinking rationally and they're just freaking out. And then you've got at least 2 people who ingested a fish tank cleaning chemical and thought it would be fine.
Yeah.
Obviously, rational thinking has gone out the window.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and then for the fact, too, that the people who bought, like, Kleenex and paper towel instead of toilet paper, they're flushing it down the toilet. So now, like, the sewage processing plants are backing up because people are flushing stuff not meant to be flushed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Public service announcement. Do not flush anything but toilet paper down your toilet. Because if you flush anything other than that, it is going to clog up the sanitation plants that process shit. It's going to clog it up and cause a problem. Don't flush anything other than toilet paper.
And plumbers are so overworked now that you have to get on a waiting list, so now you're without a toilet.
Yes. Don't flush anything but toilet paper down the toilet.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it.
Oh.
But the reason we decided to do this video, you have a little story to tell about calling your grandmother.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't even sure if she was going to pick up the phone or not. The JW grandmother.
My
Her
mom.
mother.
Yeah, my mom.
Yeah, that was an interesting conversation, let me tell ya.
Well, that's why we want to share it with everybody.
Well, so I haven't talked to her.
2012, I think.
Yeah, I think 2012 was the last time I talked to her. No, it was when Dolores had died, her sister.
January 2013.
So that was the last time I had talked to her. So, 7 years?
Yeah.
7 years? Yeah. I can't math that well right now. My brain's just all over the place. I can't math. I can't even math on, like, the best of days. So, yeah, since I've been at home and have not gone out for 2 weeks, that gives me a lot of time to think. So I have actually been concerned about her mother, because she's elderly. I found out today she's 78. She's got a few underlying health conditions, and, if she caught it and died, our family wouldn't tell us.
I know they wouldn't.
They wouldn't, because they're assholes. Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't want me to swear. Can you bleep that out?
I agree, they are.
Yeah, they are. So anyway, I'm like, you know what? What's the worst that's going to happen? She hang up on me. She doesn't talk to me. She doesn't pick up the phone. And it's like, it was more just to ease my mind of, like, is she dead or alive?
Yeah.
So anyway, I got her phone number, and I called, and she actually picked up. And we ended up talking for over an hour. Yeah, it was just very interesting. It was a very interesting conversation, and, we didn't start really talking about anything religious or JW related until towards the end, because I don't know, I just got the feeling, like, I knew if I started talking about it, she would hang up, or that would be the end of the conversation. But I also think that she knew that, too. And so, like, we did not bring it up at all. So we just caught up, I told her about me being sick and Mom being sick, and, found out that 2 of the family in Florida apparently had it and were already sick just, like, within the last week or so with it. So, just caught up on family stuff that I really don't give a shit about anyway. Sorry! I don't know if I can't not cuss! At least I haven't dropped any F-bombs yet.
Yeah.
But that's okay, you can edit that out. So anyway, she just asked stuff about us, me and James, and just kind of got caught up, I guess, I even told her, she's like, so what's new? And I'm like, well, I haven't talked to you in 7 years. Like, a lot has happened.
Yeah.
I can't go through like a play-by-play of everything that's happened.
Yeah. You should have been talking to your granddaughter, your only granddaughter, for the past 7 years if you want to keep up on all what's new.
Right? I know. But it was towards the end of the conversation that it got interesting, because that's when I really got to see just the disturbing level of mind screw. Yes, you'll have to edit that out. Sorry, that's just more work for you. Just the intense level of mind screw that they're really at. So I had told her that I was diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety and social anxiety, and she's like, oh, sweetie, why? What caused it? And I said, well, I don't want to tell you that right now because I'm pretty sure that's going to end our conversation. And she's like, oh, okay. I'm like, I'll tell you at the end. So then we just kind of talked a little bit more, and I knew, like, our conversation was getting close to an end because it had already been an hour at that point. And so I said, all right, well, I figured, I got to get going, and, we've been on the phone for a while. And I said, I was diagnosed with PTSD because of the Jehovah's Witnesses. I said, it was religious trauma. That's what gave me PTSD. That's what gave me anxiety. And she's like, yeah, I kind of figured you were going to say that. Okay, so you kind of figured I was going to say that anyway, and yet, what? Like, shouldn't that be sending off, like, red flags that, like, oh my God, if my granddaughter has, PTSD and anxiety from being a religion, what should that tell me? And like nothing, just the, oh, I'm so sorry, sweetie. But it was very interesting because through the whole conversation, like, she had this very fatalistic view. She just kept making comments about, like, she doesn't have much time left and just taking it day by day because she doesn't know if she's going to wake up the next day. Just this whole, like, fatalistic view of death.
Almost like just sitting there waiting to die.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she's just sitting there waiting to die. And it's like, you could be living. You could be so much more, but you're just sitting there being fatalistic. And I mean, if she is constantly thinking about death like that, that's not good on your mind. That's not good on your stress level either.
No, your immune system either, because whatever you get is going to be harder to fight because you've already got it in your mind that you're going to die.
Right. See, and the other thing, like, I didn't say anything to her, but while I was talking to her, I'm like, why are you so afraid of death? Why are you so fatalistic right now? Because, if you truly are strong in your beliefs, death should not be scary for you.
Yeah.
Like, you should be... I mean, if you believe what you do about dying and immediately being resurrected and, you'll be living forever and stuff, you should not be afraid of death. But there's just this very much, like, looming cloud of, I'm afraid of dying and all of that. And it's just like, I haven't been a witness now for 8 years, and I don't fear death.
Yeah.
I'm not fatalistic like what I used to be. So I thought that it was interesting, because it's like, does that mean that you don't even really believe it? I don't know. I'm trying to think what else there was in that conversation.
Well, I know you mentioned when you called me on the phone that you brought up the Australian Royal Commission.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So actually what started that, I had asked her, I said, it's been 7 years since we've talked. So what now? Can we talk often again or what? And she says, no, we can't, sweetie. I'm sorry. And I said, why? Why can't we talk? If we keep religion out of this, why can't we talk? And she goes, well, that's just the way it is, and we can't go back. Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. I'm like, now, I mean, I know why she can't talk. But she couldn't even answer me of why she couldn't talk to me.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's the mind screw. Like, they don't even know why they can't talk to us. She couldn't answer my question of why. Why can't you talk to me? But then she, like, kind of skirted around it, and she's like, well, Shyla, let me just ask you, do you believe still what you were taught growing up? And she then proceeded to list, you know, do you still believe they're going to call peace and security? Oh, but we don't have, we have peace right now, or it's not peaceful. I don't know. I don't remember what she said, because she was babbling, and I was just kind of like, okay, I know where this is going, like, you're just rambling, like, but just all that stuff, you know, like, oh, they're going to announce the Great Tribulation, and then they're going to turn on religion, and then they're going to see that God's people are still active, and then they're going to turn on, like, she went through all of that. And then she finally got done at the end, and then she's like, do you still believe any of that? Well, and let me back up. In one point of her rambling on about, do I still believe this stuff, she had said, she just made the comment about how people despise them, despise the witnesses. And I'm like, that's my end. So she got to the end, and I said, all right, I will answer your question. But before I answer that, I know why they despise you. I know why the world despises you. I've been out 7, 8 years now. I'm not afraid to talk to people. I'm not afraid to watch videos. I'm not afraid to watch news reports or hearings. Do you want to know why people despise witnesses? She's like, yeah, tell me. I said, it's the pedophilia problem. And she's like, oh, that, yeah. And that was it. She just blew it off. And it's like, okay, so you know that there's a pedophile problem, and yet you believe it 100%. What is wrong? Well, that's the mind screw.
Yeah.
That's the brainwashing.
Yeah.
But then, like, she was still listening, so I said, you know what, before I answer your question, you know what, Grandma? It killed me calling her Grandma. Like, I haven't called that woman by that title for years. Like, I refer to her by her first name. So, but I'm like, you know what, I'm talking to her, I'm going to try to appeal to her emotional side by using that language. I said, you know what, the Australia Royal Commission, they investigate, this is like one of the highest levels of their government. They investigated the pedophilia problem in Australia. They subpoenaed the governing body. Jeffrey Jackson testified on the stand and lied. Your governing body member lied on the stand and committed perjury. I said, so to answer your question, no. I don't believe in it because I've done the research. Every time they would quote something in the Watchtower, I would go look at what the original source said, and they took it out of context and they twisted it and made it say something that the original source was not saying. I said I wasn't afraid to look at that. So after seeing the governing body member lie on the stand, and I told her, I said, I watched it. I watched him lie. And after looking at all of this research, months, years, I said, I don't know what's truth and what's lies. And you know what? I can't support that because I can't decipher what is truth and what's lies. I mean, I can, but, you know, I wasn't going to get into that with her because I knew I had limited time. And then she's just like, well, you know, all of us, you know, are free to believe what we want and blah, 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 dirt, 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 dirt. And that was it. And then, you know, our conversation ended. So.
Yeah.
But it's just, even with confronting it, and, you know, it was just interesting because after I got off the phone with her and I called you, you know, I realized that with the level of that fatalistic outlook on life, that she's going to die, she's afraid to die. And I mean, that was very clear that she is terrified of death.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? I think even at this point, she's too old. She doesn't want to change.
Yeah.
And you know what? That confirms to me what I've been thinking all these years, that she doesn't want to give it up. It's
Yeah.
a comfort for her.
Yeah, it's her happy place, but look at how miserable she is just sitting there waiting to die. And you would think that all Jehovah's Witnesses would be happy to be moving on because they're going to wake up in a paradise earth, or those of the 144,000, they're going to, in a twinkling of an eye, go to heaven according to their beliefs. So what is it in the back of their brain that, you know, they're afraid of dying? I mean, subconsciously, do they know that, you know, this isn't going to happen? They're not going to wake up in a paradise earth? I mean...
Well, to say it like Dad would say it, I think subconsciously they know it's all bullshit in the back of their mind. They know it's bullshit.
Yeah, you're definitely your father's daughter.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they know it's all bullshit. So, you know, she's afraid of dying because she knows subconsciously it's bullshit. I think she knows she's not going to have this glorious resurrection in a twinkling of an eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and she was also saying, too, that her sister, you know, my great aunt, is also just taking it one day at a time and just doesn't know when her time is going to be up. But the same thing, just that whole, like, fatalistic fear of death.
Yeah. And didn't you say that even before the coronavirus stay-at-home thing, that they weren't going to meetings anyway? They were already getting the phone tie-in?
I didn't say that. You got that from your source.
Oh, okay.
You got that from your source.
Oops!
Well, you can edit that out if you want.
Well, let's just say a friend of a friend of a friend.
Friend of a friend of a friend, your source.
Yeah.
She has lots of sources, people, let me tell you. The amount
Yeah.
of information that she gets wind of, and it's like, holy shit, she's got a network.
Yeah. In fact, since we're doing a video, sorry, Shyla, I got to interrupt here just for a minute. I got an elder's letter, and it's interesting because it says urgent. And
Oh, wait. Do. Breaking news.
yeah, but I got an elder's letter, and look at the top. It says in red, urgent.
All in red.
Yeah, and it's further directions on the coronavirus pandemic. And all the special preaching campaigns in London and Malta scheduled for May will be postponed. They're also getting publishers set up with a program called Zoom, Zoom, and they're going to be streaming the memorial. But I do know, I checked the website, and the Moriarty Kingdom Hall here in New Mexico and the Tijeras Kingdom Hall still have the memorial scheduled at their Kingdom Hall.
Well, because in the governor's last order that went into effect yesterday. Wait, what is today? Today, Friday? Thursday?
Thursday the 26th. I believe it was day before yesterday, but it went into effect 8 a.m. yesterday morning.
So wait, what is today? Is today Friday?
Thursday.
Is it Thursday? Oh, good Lord. God, I don't even know what day of the week it is. But yeah, it went into effect yesterday morning at 8. Religious gatherings are exempt. She's still allowing religious gatherings to happen. And it's like, oh my God, why?
How stupid is that? If you can't go into a restaurant and sit down and eat, they're closing down restaurants because you can't have more than 5 people together, then why allow religious organizations to keep having their meetings? How dumb is that?
Well, yesterday, so after I did my supply run, going to the grocery store, I was driving home and I passed a church and their parking lot was packed full of vehicles. And I'm just like, oh my God. Now, I understand, I do, that people cling to their religion and religious beliefs during trying times, and these are trying times. It's hard.
Yeah.
But, like, common sense, if one person at that church has it and not having symptoms, they now have just infected the whole church. Did they not see what happened in South Korea with that cult? One woman went into that church, and that's what started that huge outbreak in South Korea. That's also what happened in New York City with that lawyer who had it. He went to his synagogue and exposed it to everybody, and then that's what exploded it in New York.
Well, look at Prince Charles now in Britain. He's tested positive, and he was around the Queen. He had no symptoms, was not sick whatsoever, and now look at how many he has spread it around to. Journalists, the family, the entire royal family probably, and everybody he was around, because he was at a social function the day before that he, had been tested.
Yeah, that's the same with some of those U.S. senators.
Yeah.
They did some vote in Congress, and then the next day they find out they tested positive for COVID, and then now, like, it's just more and more senators are testing positive.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, honestly, it is very irresponsible and dangerous that these people are still going to church.
Yeah, I know it.
I mean, I understand wanting to have that sense of community and that social aspect because people can't socialize right now. But, I mean, at this point in time, people need to err on the side of caution. And that is not being cautious.
I know
being
it.
in a room full of religious people.
Yeah, I know it. Well, that's why I was so happy to see Walmart so empty yesterday. There was probably only like 30 people in the entire store. And the shelves were pretty stocked with stuff. And of course, they're limiting, rationing things out. You have to ask for toilet paper and paper towel and Kleenex, and they're giving you 2 packages. But it was nice to see town so dead, but I understand why the governor said only to buy food, get gas, and necessary workers.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, I mean, the fact that, the Moriarty Kingdom Hall is still having their memorial, you're going to have more people after that testing positive.
Yeah.
Because that's what's so concerning about this is because I could have it and not have symptoms, but I can pass it on to other people.
Yeah. Well, look at back.
That's so dangerous.
Look at back when you and I were both sick in January. If we had it, I was going everywhere. I had gone into Costco, Walmart, Hobby Lobby. We had gone out to restaurants. And, I think this is how it was getting spread around. And it was interesting because yesterday, talking to people, so many said, I think I had it clear back to like December or January or February because they were so sick.
Yeah. Well, see, and this year's flu season, they said was going to was looking like it was going to be on par with the 2009 swine flu epidemic that hit with the H1N1. So they said that this flu season was so bad, and it has been. There's been a lot more deaths this year from the flu. But it's interesting because I've been following flu cases and also COVID once it was getting bad in China. So about from the beginning to mid-January, I started following it and following the reports and cases and how it was spreading. And it was so interesting because when I was following the news on the flu, they were starting to report that there's this weird flu X going around.
Yeah.
And what those articles were saying is that there's a strain of flu going around that people aren't testing positive for the flu. And they were trying to figure out what is this flu going around. And it's causing respiratory issues and pneumonia.
Yeah.
The levels of pneumonia were increasing. And see, back in January, one of my coworkers actually went to urgent care because she had the beginnings of pneumonia. And so she, they gave her some medication and told her to rest. And I think she was out one day, but then she was back at work. And, from what I remember, now don't quote me on this, I don't think she tested positive for the flu.
That's interesting.
And I know a lot of people who had the flu, but were not testing positive for the flu. That I think it's been here and going around much longer.
Because, see, they weren't even testing here in New Mexico until, like, the middle of March.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's only been, like, 2 weeks that they've been testing. Maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, testing the community. They had been testing people with travel history. Because when I got sick and was trying to get tested, they said because I didn't have any travel history that I didn't have it.
Yeah.
But it's like just because I didn't have travel history doesn't mean that I couldn't have gotten it.
Yeah, because I think at that point they had community spread and didn't even know it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So hopefully this doesn't freak anybody out.
Well, if nothing else, it should, let people be more cautious. Because even though the public health officials were saying back then, oh, it's nothing to worry about and all of this, oh, well, it's not in our state. Many of us were saying, yeah, it is, and you need to be cautious.
Well, it was interesting because yesterday morning when I was getting ready to leave to go do my grocery shopping, one of the neighbors was walking her dogs, and I was just like, oh my God, people! Like, kind of funny, just being sarcastic, and I'm like, I haven't seen anybody but my husband for 2 weeks! I'm like, there are still people, and she was laughing. But she stopped at the end of my drive, but yes, we maintain more than 6 feet distance between each other, people. But we were standing there chatting a little bit, and she even said, like, I think my husband and I had it because our symptoms match this, and it was the end of January, February. And she said, in fact, my husband is still having a hard time trying to recover, and he still has pain in his airways from being sick. See, and that's one thing, because I was sick the end of February, I still am having pain in my airways from here to about here, just in this area. And I have never in my life have had a cold so bad that I have that burning raw airway feel. I still have it. And if I start exerting myself too much, I get short of breath and can't breathe.
Yeah.
So I possibly have some damage in my airway right here.
Yeah, I know it.
that's what she was saying about her husband, that he still is having a hard time breathing.
Yeah, and it's interesting because your dad, Mikey came home last night, and we all know that they're winding things down and dismantling the farm. Well, they had a bunch of stuff that they set aside, and a guy was supposed to come pick it up from out of state because he's buying some of the nets and poles and stuff, whatever parts he's getting, and he can't come right now because he actually has it. So
wow.
He's under quarantine. And I can't remember, what Mikey said, but if I remember correctly, the guy's wife is in the medical field.
Oh, so it got spread.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I just find it interesting that so many are getting it, and it's like, well, this is community spread, people.
Yeah. Well, and quite honestly, the amount of people who were out and about yesterday was surprising. I could tell who were, because you had your semis, you had your heavy equipment movers, you had that stuff. The essential workers, like road crews, stuff like that. Utility workers, I saw water trucks, electric company trucks. So you have that part of the traffic out, but you would not believe how much traffic was just out there. That was just normal everyday traffic. And every Walmart grocery store I passed by, the parking lot was full. And it's if you are that full, that means you cannot be maintaining the 6-foot distance from each other.
Yeah.
And it's when I have to do my shopping, I try to go right when they open up before they get too busy.
Yeah.
It's just they tell us to stay away from people.
Yeah. Well, that's why, I really wasn't planning on doing big grocery shopping, but I had to go meet you up in the parking lot, and I just
We had to swap supplies because she had stuff I couldn't get and I had stuff she couldn't get.
Yeah. Thank you for the cookies.
We maintained more than 6 feet away from each other.
Yeah, actually it was more like 10 feet, wasn't it? Because you stayed by your car and I stayed by mine. That was really difficult. That was difficult.
Yeah.
But I
didn't say anything, but that's part of why I was upset last night because I was I couldn't hug my mom.
Yeah, I know.
I had my meltdown last night. I couldn't hug my mom.
Yeah, I know it. And I'm sure, you were thinking about your grandmother, too.
Yeah. Well, she's a zombie.
Yeah.
She's a zombie.
And that's what's so disturbing because, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they're shunning family members. This is a time when families, even just Skyping, talking to one another would help. But look, she's just so fatalistic. She's just sitting there waiting to die. Doesn't know what's going to happen one day from the next.
And she can't talk to me, but doesn't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just but that just shows the level of brainwashing that these people have.
Yeah.
They would okay, I'm going to cuss, so you're going to have to edit this out. That is the level of the mind that these people are under. Because they will listen to somebody who they don't even know. She has never met any of the governing body members.
Yeah.
She has never met any of them. He has lied on the stand. He has lied under oath. She will listen to him, but not her own family.
Yeah.
That's
She will shun family just because they say so without even know the reason why.
Yeah. 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 And that is disgusting. And that's why this evil cult needs to burn.
Yeah. Yeah.
It needs to burn. And you know what? I would encourage, because most states now have a hotline to where you can report mass gatherings. You can report people for not complying with the governor's orders. So if you know that a Kingdom Hall is meeting in secret for their memorial, report them.
Yeah.
Don't even question. Just report them. Because quite honestly, I'm wondering if, say somebody here in New Mexico just happened to call that hotline number to report non-compliance, for large gatherings, if, the state police would just happen to show up and break it up.
Yeah. Wasn't it you that was telling me about some kind of gathering that there was over 100 people meeting out somewhere and they sent the state police?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I didn't recognize it, but I think it was a park. It kind of, from the video that I saw, because, they showed it, the park was full, and, people were not staying 6 feet away from each other.
I know it. Well, it's like these, spring break is going on for a lot of the schools, and they're showing the beaches and all of, the people on the beaches. Well, look at now. We heard on our news that cases are exploding in New Orleans because it's been about...
Mardi Gras.
Because of Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras. Yep.
Yeah, so, that's going to be another hot spot for cases. And,
Yeah.
I know some have been criticizing our governor for shutting everything down, but I can understand also why these governors are doing this and why the federal government is doing this. Because, and I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories, and I don't want to, get into that because I've got a few of my own ideas. But the thing is this is spreading, and people are dying from it.
And people aren't listening to direction. And it's it was so great. So memes are basically how I'm getting through this, because I've always dealt with stress with laughter. And memes are hilarious. I love memes. I saw a meme and it said, this is like that kindergarten class that can't go out to recess because 2 kids won't follow direction. So every time those 2 kids don't follow direction, there's 10 minutes less of recess. So they were likening that to this quarantine. Well, not quarantine, but this, stay-at-home, shelter-in-place initiative. They're going to just keep tacking on weeks and weeks until people finally listen.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the earliest cases, I don't remember, it was somewhere back east. I want to say New York, New Jersey, somewhere in that area. There was a man, he tested positive, and they told him, you have to stay at home for 2 weeks. Guess what? He kept breaking his quarantine and kept going out. You know what they had to do? They had to put police around his house to force him to stay home because he wasn't taking it seriously.
See, and what a waste of government and city resources, because instead of going on calls to help others or emergencies or child abuse cases or something like that, they have to put police all around his house to keep him inside.
Yeah. So it's people like that who are going to make this longer for the rest of us. I'm staying at home. And actually, honestly, after going out for groceries yesterday, you know what? I'm staying home. So my husband, he's essential. So as long as he's still going out to work, you know what? He's going to do the grocery shopping.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't want to go out. And if I stay home, then that's just me.
Yeah.
I am not infecting anybody. Now, my husband, if he gets it, before he finds out, because I saw that happen at my work, we were all exposed and had to go under a 2-week quarantine. Well, they didn't call it a quarantine. It was self-isolation for 2 weeks from our last possible chance of exposure. But I didn't get the letter until like 10 days later, after I had already been home. You know, and I was staying home, but I know some of my other colleagues were working. They were out working, you know, so it's like if they had it, well, seeing that your camera's about to die, I guess we'll wrap this up. I don't think we solved any of the world's problems, but
Yeah.
it's just interesting to see the level of mind control that these witnesses have.
Yeah.
It's sad, and it really is sad. I feel very bad for her.
Yeah. But yet they'll still go to the memorial at the Kingdom Hall, you know, just because they feel that is a necessity.
Yeah. I don't think her or her sister will, because they're pretty scared, and she said, we're not going out until this is over.
Yeah. So thank you everybody so much for watching, and you all stay safe out there. Bye, Shyla.
Bye.